Well, what's up guys? So today we're going to be doing a C6 to C5 seatbelt conversion. Now before I go any further, I'm just going to do a quick disclaimer, and if this part of the process turns you off, you think it's unsafe, just stop the video because you're going to get upset. Just a quick disclaimer. We will be shaving the receiver end of the C6 belt to match the C5. They're both the same grade of steel. We will be taking roughly 1 millimeter off both sides of the new, I guess, receptacle or belt clip inner thingy. So if that in any way makes you uncomfortable, just stop the video right now and don't do it, or use this video for the rest of the process and get a different seatbelt receptacle that works for a C6. Now, this is, like I said, this is the same grade steel. It works for the C5, so I'm okay doing it with the C6. So just a warning. People out there are going to see this and freak out because they already think the seats I use are the most unsafe thing in the entire world. So we will be trimming 1 millimeter off this. I say this jokingly, but kind of serious. And a lot of people watching this are like, no, I can't do this, freaking out. FYI. All right, let's get into it. All right, well today we're going to be putting C6 seatbelts into a C5. You might be asking why. A lot of people run aftermarket seats. The C5 seat well, if you will, footwell or whatever you call it, is very narrow. And because of that, the seat back reclining buttons typically don't work in a C5 because the seatbelt spool. There's two in a C5, there's one main one in a C6. Interesting, weird, I know. I think they did that in the C6 so they can get a slightly wider seat if I'm not mistaken. I'll show you the difference real quick. With the C6, you got your main reel. It's going to go under your B-pillar, and then this guy will be routed up to further up your B-pillar. This you can route it through your seat if you have an aftermarket seat, and this will go down by your outboard near your outside of your seat. So pretty simple design with the C6. With the C5 here, you got two spools, which is very interesting. And like I said, I think this is the one down by your side, and it just makes it too wide in the footwell area for the latch to work, so you got to flip them on the side, and it's just a pain in the butt. And also this way, you can fit the one side of the seatbelt through your seat. So you can have it coming through your seat, so it's not going to mess up the top of your aftermarket seat, which is an awesome bonus. There are a couple modifications you have to make to the seatbelt. One I already pointed out, you do have to file down or trim down the little clicker deal, exactly 1 millimeter all the way around. Dremel tool will come in handy. And then on this guy right here, one or the other, I think it's this one, you got to bend it in, but this and this will fit in the stock setup. And then where this meets the bottom trim piece, you got to just flatten this out, and then everything will go together. Oh, and yes, and you do have to widen this. I use a cobalt bit, metal bit, and we're talking, man, one size up. I don't know what size this is. It's maybe like a 10 millimeter, maybe it's like 11 millimeter. Just a little bit, just keep widening into the bolt that comes off the C5, fits inside of that. So that's all the fabrication you're gonna be doing to make this work. So the tools you're gonna need a Dremel to do this, to cut some of the trim pieces, the plastic that goes around the seatbelt, a pair of pliers to bend some of the things, a Dremel tool as well to grind down the seatbelt clicker, a C-clamp, because once you get the seatbelt pulled out, it's going to want to keep going in, so it's easy just to clamp to one side, hold it in place to get everything done. Basic mechanic tools with a 15 millimeter at least to get the seats out. Trim pop tool if you want to use one. I think most of these panels you can pull out by hand. And a T47 torque bit to get all the seatbelt related bolts out. Anything else I missed will be in the description below, so don't worry. So I'll go ahead and show you the driver's side, which I already got buttoned up, and then we'll do the passenger side together. They're pretty similar. The shape of the C6 seatbelt on the driver's side is a little different, like an L shape, but it doesn't really matter. And oh, one last thing before we get into it. Whatever reason, all the forums I read, the C6 seatbelts themselves, you want to use the driver's side for the passenger for the driver's side. Something to do, if you don't use them like that, they won't retract properly. So I'm just going by what I've heard, and it works just fine, so there's that. All right, let's go over to the driver's side and we'll go through it. All right, so here's how to look all set up with your C6 seatbelt. My only real complaint is that even though you can use a lever now, depending where your seat is, where you have it, the seatbelt does kind of go over the lever, but nonetheless, it's a non-issue really. The car's kind of dirty, I apologize. That's how it looks up there. You can't use the C5 cover on it, which is unfortunate, but it's pretty much out of the way. You don't really see it. It fits down there in the B-pillar just fine behind the trim. The seatbelt can come through there, which is awesome. You can see that I trimmed this up. I need to polish it a little bit. Works just fine. Good to go. Now, as you can see here, this is amazing that I can actually use this now without like fighting with it. Let's go ahead and hop over to the passenger side over there and get to work. All right, over here on the passenger side. Now, the only real trim piece you got to remove to do this job is this guy right here. This will give you access to this receiver down there, this spool, and this spool right here. Up here, just a little cover right here. We'll pop that off, and there'll be a T47 in there, one behind here, and one behind here. And when we cut this thing, it's going to be about right back here, up here, and then coming down flush with this. But I'll show you after I cut it, kind of give you a rough template you can use. So I'm going to go ahead and get this panel off real quick. And again, it just pops off right here. This part, take this part off, and the rest of this will come on out. All right, so you can see there's one clip behind it right there, and then one down there. Both those come out. Feed the seatbelts out through these little guys right there. Easy day. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this entire seatbelt with 3 bolts. There's one down here. Boom. One up here, right there, and then behind this cover up here, all 3 the same size, and I'll be right back. All right, seatbelt out, no drama. Those 3 bolts, it's gonna be your top one. You can reuse all 3, no big deal. So here's the old belt, the new belt right here. Before I go any further with this video, I'm gonna do this off camera because it's really boring, is down here, I'm going to widen this until this bolt fits through. As you can see, it almost does. I'm using just a little cobalt deal. Take your time, just where it's wide enough, get that guy through. And then the clip right here, I'm gonna go ahead and shave this down with a Dremel tool, the little cutting wheel. Just go around the edges, take your time. It took me about 15 minutes, the other one, and then just kind of grind it ever so lightly all the way around and keep fitting it into the seatbelt receptacle until it fits. And then we will come back and get this guy in. All right, just like that, got it all ready to go. Bolt down here, perfect. My little seatbelt clip, good to go. At the end, I use a file on it. Got a little burr off after I use my Dremel, but pretty clean. For the receptacle, or the spool rather, right here, the one furthest away from this tab, there's a tab, there's a large tab right there, one right there, one right there. The one furthest away, go ahead and bend it in, and you can do it with a pair of pliers. And then on this guy right there, there's one right here too, just bend it out. Other side too, same thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick. All right, at this point, take my Dremel, my cutting tool, and you can see with the razor kind of outlined where I'm gonna be cutting it kind of superficially right there. So I'm gonna cut it and then sand it down, get all the burr off, and this should be ready to go in once the seatbelt's in. Right here too, what I was talking about, you want a little clamp to hold all the seatbelt out, otherwise it's a total pain try to get it in there, and it keeps going back up inside and it locks, pain in the ass. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this with my Dremel tool. It's super easy to cut through like butter. Sand this down and use this as a template, how I did this. And the other side too, you just kind of, I'll show it to you in a second, you gotta kind of go around where the seat's gonna go with the lever, if that makes sense. And then, yeah, so when I come back, this will be cut, the seatbelt will be in place, and I'll show you exactly how it looks. And then we'll put this trim piece back on. All right, here's how it should look when it's done. I'll clean this up with some plastic restore, get rid of all the white chalkiness from the sanding. No big deal. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get the seatbelt in. Now remember, don't put this one down here in, this guy till last, because you wanna route it through your seat. Once you put it in loosely, mount it, and then put your seat down. But I'm gonna go ahead, show you how it should look when it's routed, and I'll be back. All right, so here's how we should look. Got the spool in there. Again, this is just holding the tension so it all doesn't fly back in there. How it should look on top. The orientation just should come out flat and go up around this. And then this should be loose and hanging out down here, because what we gotta do now, move this out of the way. We gotta put the seat in there loosely. We're gonna route this through this guy, and then we can bolt it down, and then bolt the seat down, and then put the trim on, and we're good to go. And then just like that, we got C6 seat belts and a C5. This side's not too bad. The driver's side looks a little cleaner, but I don't think anyone's ever really gonna think about this or notice this down there. Seatbelt works just fine. Let's see here. And yes, let me demonstrate that you can use the lever now. It's great. It's amazing when the seatbelt stuck on it. But yeah, and you can slide it forward and back. No issue. Before, you could barely even move it. All the way back, all the way forward. Seat all the way back, seat all the way forward. It's amazing. So much better. So much more appropriate. Okay. All right, so you can see the passenger side over there. And here's how I cut the driver's side. So, kind of give you a good example. So from the split right there, roughly 7 inches back, straight down. You gotta kind of fart with it. I can't really show you a template, unfortunately, but yeah, it's pretty seamless, especially when I clean up this line a little bit. You really won't be able to tell, especially right here. You have no idea. Cool, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this. My car is filthy. It's disgusting. Any questions about anything, feel free to ask. I don't mind answering questions. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, go enjoy your 3-day weekend. Mark out.